Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. Sorry I missed last week. I did have some internet problems, and then also I missed Week in Review as well. Some of it due to those internet problems, others due to some work problems, stuff like that. I just actually didn't have the time to get it in there, and then work was crazy. So I do apologize. We missed a whole week of YouTube content. I apologize. But we're back, and we're talking about what's wrong with the starter ships. And this is in relation to the raising the price of the 300i and the Avenger Titan to make room for what is clearly a more expensive starter ship in the 100i. And I have a lot of issues here, and a lot of them aren't about money. My issues are from a gameplay perspective. We are in year 8 of development. And the biggest issue that I have is that there's no understanding of what a starter ship actually is. What a starter ship is, what it will do, what is different about a starter ship, and the experience with that ship from an Avenger Titan or a 300i. Even though the Avenger Titan is now labeled as a starter ship because it sells. So they said in a post from Tyler Witkin that the price was going to go up because they took the opportunity to re-examine their starter ships. But you have to re-examine your starter ships for more than just a monetary value. Okay? And maybe they did, but the problem here is that most games, and I know Star Citizen is not most games, would be sharing what progression actually is in their game by year 8 of development. That's what they would be doing. So the issue that I have here with what's wrong with starter ships is we don't know what they are. We don't know how they differ other than they just cost less money. Because guess what? If I buy a 100i, or I buy an Aurora MR, or I buy a Mustang, or I buy an Avenger Titan, or, believe it or not, if I buy an Anvil Arrow, which is also labeled as a starter ship on the website, we'll look at that in a second probably, the experience that I get is exactly the same. When I open my Mobi-Glass, I have the same missions, I see the same game. I have little differences in what my weapons look like, sound like, how fast they shoot, how much damage they might do, how fast my ship might go. But the game is exactly the same. It doesn't speed up the process at all. So what's wrong with starter ships? A whole hell of a lot, because we don't know what they are. So it's a very weird thing. And for me, the discussion I would like to have is how do we fix this? What is progression in Star Citizen? How do we fix this? I made a video 2 years ago. I believe what should happen is, no matter the amount of money you spent on the game, doesn't matter how much money you spent on the game, we all start with the same amount of money, and you choose between the 100i, the Aurora MR, the Reliant, which isn't labeled as a starter ship, doesn't have a game package, the Avenger Titan, the Pisces, whatever. There's a bunch of starter ships, but you have a choice. And they can maneuver them so they all like rock, paper, scissors each other a little bit. And they're, oh, this one has more armor, that one has more this, so on and so forth, right? But that's impossible. You can't do that. So what do we do? That's why I kind of wanted to do this show and have this conversation. I thought it'd be a lot of fun to have, is talk about what the hell's a starter ship? What should it be? Because I don't think it's being communicated to us, because I don't think even CIG knows at this stage. And that's what's scary about this game, and that's what's scary about the development of this game, is we're always supposed to wait. But when we don't even know the basics of what the game should be, we don't even know the vision of what what it should be. All we know is the Imagine trailer. You could do whatever you want to do. You could go wherever you want to go. You could do whatever you want to do. I don't know, man. I think we need a little bit more structure to the game. What is a starter ship? How does it act? All those things. So without further ado, we're going to bring on our first guest, who was actually a guest previously on the show as a featured guest, Space Cutlet. Welcome, Space. Welcome to the show. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear.
What's up, man? Yeah, I'm at a loss with this stuff. So when I saw you were in chat, I was like, I'd really love to hear what you have to say about this because this is nuts. What is the starter experience in Star Citizen for you?
It's hard asking the guy with few $1,000 ships in his hangar what his starter experience, but I'm not showing off. I'm just stating that we went so far over the years, right?
Sure.
We keep throwing money and money and money because like it just stretches over the years, and you at some point you just lose the track. Oh, this is a cool stuff. I'm gonna get it. There is no starter experience in Star Citizen, right? There is no experience overall. There's very little gameplay, and I'm always salty as usual. You all know me, guys. But I'm looking right now at this page you were looking at previously, right?
Sure. Was it the game packages page?
Yeah, game packages page.
I'll bring it up.
First thing that somehow shows up for me is our meta pack for $2,500, but that's probably my account stuff.
Yes,
because I have a token for it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all based on how much you've spent, and all those things is what they show. So the page I'm showing is if you're not logged in. So I think it's really important that the startership discussion comes from the point of view of a player who hasn't purchased the game yet. So if you're not logged in, this is what a new player would see.
So imagining I'm a player who just was shilled by Space Cutlet into the game, right?
Sure.
And I come into this page, right? And I'm like, what's the difference, right? I'm just sitting there looking at Mustang I want to get into like 45 bucks range, right? What's the difference? And why that streamer goes in and tells me to buy the Titan starter pack for 65 because it's good, right?
Which is now the first ship that's placed there.
Yeah, how
so it's very
would they even know, right?
Yeah.
The difference. Oh, and there is a Pisces there.
Yeah.
That is $60.
Mm-hmm.
Why it is $60? And that's one of the reasons I kept raising up on my streams that Pisces, for example, is super overpriced, but no one cares or lowering its price. Like Pisces is actually a glorified actual starter ship, right? Which has probably the same amount of cargo. I mean, it just looks cool. For example, for me personally, I like those kind of designs, right?
Yeah.
So, but its functionality is the same amount of cargo as one of the Mustangs or Aurora can handle. 4 SCU? I don't remember the numbers exactly, right? It has.
Yeah, we can take a look.
It has 4 size 1 guns now possible to get gimbaled as Aurora has, or a Mustang. It has 0 HP pool on its hull. Mm-hmm. Its damage is awful, so you get all the... Because I'm talking about it as a combat pilot, right? You're getting all the damage into one point and you explode instantly, while Aurora can tank for ages. Literally, it can tank full combat ships if positioned properly, with all the parts falling apart, right? Slowly, and then you warp out. You can survive in Aurora, unless you're getting cockpit headed instantly. But somehow Pisces costs $60. Can anyone in this world tell me why does it cost that much? If it is the same functionality, same experience, because it has a back ramp and more convenient?
Because it was the new thing. I think it was just because it was the new thing, and they thought they could take advantage of it.
But it's not a new thing anymore.
No.
And all of this, all of this.
If the Pisces is 60, what is a 100i package going to be? Because that's the one thing that we can see here, and why we're really having this discussion is because of those price changes. Is the 100i isn't here, so this has to fit. There has to be a package for it, right? So where does that fit in? Is it going to be $65 as well? Or is it going to be $60? So it's $5 less than the Titan?
there's gonna be, I have no idea. Like, actually, the prices stopped scaring me for quite a long now.
Me too.
It's the logic that getting flawed with every like addition to the store.
Starter ships should be all priced exactly the same. They should be designed differently, so that you have a different experience with each one, and you choose which experience you'd like to have.
What I would actually do, but obviously CAG will not do that, if there is a lineup of starter ships that goes with a basic choice of purchasing the starter package, and then in-game you choose which one you want to spawn. It sounds a bit weird, probably, because we all used how things in Star Citizen works.
Yeah.
But it should be probably having like a starter package, be able to choose in-game the ship you want to go with, or at least be given a grace period to evaluate the game, understand what you want, and then make your choice of what starter ship you would like to stick with, right? Because having, as you said, having an arrow being labeled as a starter pack makes zero sense. It's funny that
let's bring that up again. I just found this today. Anvil Arrow starter pack, $90. What is this?
Was the thing since the Arrow release. It's weird you never noticed that, but that was a thing since the Arrow release, since like what days, 3.4 or whatever.
Really?
And yes, it's nothing new. It's nothing new. And I kind of even shilled a bit back in the day people who want to go dogfighting to go with the ship.
Yeah.
It is the ship. Now, the point is, this is one of the most competent dogfighters on the arena, on the combat arena right now.
Okay.
We may ask Darklaw how his low-flying experience is in a starter ship, right?
I saw that clip this morning. It is very clear that ship is not set up properly. The 100.
Yeah. No. I'm talking about the Arrow. He is he is low flying constantly in the Arrow because it's the best ship to do it. The best. It's like super good dogfighter, super good in Atmo, super good low flyer. How would a person? And it's hard to master. It's one of the hardest ships to properly master as a dogfighter if you use it really properly. Why would this even be a starter ship? It's like a high tier, high skill, high reward ship. It's nothing close to being a starter ship. This marketing like approach, it just makes no sense. Like zero.
In your opinion, then, what are the next steps? We're obviously at a stage of the game where it's not ready to be marketed fully to like the public of this is a game that's ready to be played. Sometimes they do it like that, but most of the time it's this is an alpha, blah, 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 right? But at what point do you... My biggest issue here is the lack of communication of what is the game? What is the plan here? If we're going to be continuing to sell these things as starter ships, what is a starter experience? Is it something that you would do based on reputation? But like when ships are your main path of progression and people have clearly just skipped that path completely, like, are we just, for me, I have this dilemma where I just go like, are we just fucked? Like, is this whole game just screwed because of the selling of the ships, if that's our main path of progression? With the idea that reputation might come, but how does that play a role in the fact that Space Cutlet might have a Javelin and I start out with an Aurora, even though we start out with the same reputation with all of the NPCs and the entire game? How is it an evening factor? I'm saying it incorrect, but the equalizer.
I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that has been my rant for the past 2 or 3 years, man.
Yeah, me too.
There is no answer to this question.
Yeah.
All this talks about the reputation grind and yada yada yada. It's an imagined thing.
Yeah.
That no one knows how it's gonna work. And I had recently a discussion I was baited into on my stream like yesterday about how like this talk, it goes so far beyond the starter ships and 100i. It's like it's a talk for hours actually.
It's the problem with the game in general. Everything about it.
In approach to the game, to what are we going to do?
Yeah.
It is a question to what are the end goals of the game? What is the end play? What is the power play? Is there gonna be any? What's the industry gonna look like? How all this AI-driven economy will influence the game? Will there be a way for actual sandbox? Will we be able to create build ships, build components, or will we all be like gathering resources only to upgrade them and then lose them and then grinding again? It's such a huge topic. I'm even afraid to touch it actually here right now on ATC because it will go on for hours, and only understanding that will kind of can enlighten us, and so we can see the bigger picture. Because I think, as you said it, CAG have no idea themselves. They have just like the rough drafts of what's going to happen, but I think that's about it. Like I've made a lot of comparisons to games like Even Line. It's like a big example, right?
Sure.
And you totally know how the things goes there, right? You have this player-driven economy, and you understand that player can have minor goals, bigger goals, and then like super goals of creating his own empire. And it's all this live player-driven market and territory control for resources to supply that player-driven market. And ships don't matter, right? Ships don't matter because it's just a tool. It's just a tool for a bigger picture people utilize to do. And then actually you can have your place in that universe. Considering everything is going to be like not player-driven in Star Citizen, my vision is very blurred. I just don't see where are we going. Is buying a bigger ship just skip all the progress and abandon the game in 2 months? Thing.
Yeah.
There is no answer to that. Why starter ships are basically the question you asked. Why starter ships are starter ships if they're just ships? Like starter pack is just a weird and bad marketing move because, as we just discussed, Arrow is not a starter ship, right? Arrow is a full combat ship that exceeds other ships in many things. It cannot call cargo, but it's a dogfighter. It's not a starter ship. It's the highly skilled ship. Like they got mixed up in the idea of starter ships by themselves, and or maybe they don't. They just utilize it to gain revenue.
Yeah.
And that like my personal thing is like, don't pay attention on the word starter. It means nothing.
Yeah.
It's just a ship. Yeah. It's just a ship. It's just a ship package. That's about it. There is no there is no financial discount. Probably there will never be any anything in game that makes the starter ship special. The only thing I would see is real starter ships like Mustang and like Aurora having some special terms on insurance policies in game. Okay. So like instantly, like, again, getting back to Eve. Eve has starter ships, nuke ships, right? There are 4 ships for each race you choose. It doesn't really matter. They're trash. The idea is the moment you get killed and lose your ship, and people know that if you lose your ships, and if they're basic ships, you get insurance value on them, but you don't get the ship back. If they're advanced ships, you get nothing, right? And then if you have no ships, you can right click in a hangar and say, give me my noob ship. And it instantly spawns with the basic components. You can do nothing in it, but it's a noob. That's what is a starter ship, basically. Yeah. That's what it should be. But then again, they cannot make this logic if Arrow is a starter ship.
Yeah.
Because you will be getting a fully functional combat light fighter that can obliterate people if you're good enough for free.
Yeah.
That doesn't work, right? So this starter thing is just BS, a glorified marketing BS. That's it. Yeah. That's my purpose.
Now, I think the reason why there's two reasons. Either they don't know anything and they're still trying to figure out what this game will be, or yeah, which is whatever. But I think, is this our fault? Are they afraid to share with us what their vision of the game is because of what our potential reaction would be?
I think they are afraid of that, definitely. So, you know what? Let's hop into something very close to me, piracy.
Okay.
Right, on that. So, look
piracy is in.
Piracy is in, exactly.
Chris Roberts said piracy is in the game. Piracy isn't murder.
Yeah, he said that. He said that, and I just walked out of my window from the 4th floor the moment I read that. Literally. Wife had to call an ambulance.
No, medical gameplay's in. You just respawned inside of a ship.
Inside of my computer chair.
Yeah, you just respawned. That's medical gameplay, by the way.
So, piracy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The last time we heard about piracy is from Chris Roberts saying it's in, but that's about it. Literally, that's about it. Why CIG is so silent? Why? Because they're afraid.
Yeah. 100%.
They understand the PvP community is such a small fraction of people. The moment they open up their mouth to talk about the piracy, people will not be able to call me a griefer anymore. People will not, and just talk about the things, how it's going to work, or that it is in, and that, for example, they're adding something to it. People are going to just rage. I mean, obviously not everyone, right? But those guys who feel entitled for their single player experience in a massively multiplayer online game with 50 players on the server, they're just gonna rage. And they're just afraid. They're afraid for reaction. They're afraid to scare. They're afraid to scare audience that pays money in before they find out or come up with a better way of monetizing the game.
Yeah, right? I mean, some people were one person said it in Twitch chat that we were getting off of topic. We're not. It's about this whole thing about what's wrong with starter ships is the communication of what a starter ship is. And that's what he's going into. And the whole thing is I agree, but I disagree. I don't think they're afraid to lose potential revenue about, they are, but for a different reason. I think that they know the Imagine gameplay, the gameplay that's in your head when you see a spaceship. So they sell you on the visuals and that the what it might be able to do with everything, right? Whether it's the game, a spaceship, a ground vehicle, anything. It's all about I'm going to be able to do this with this ship. And you have that, they're afraid to take that away. Because the second you put it on paper and say, this is what it is, the second you lose that Imagine from the person's head, and that's where the whole thing falls apart. All they're doing is selling you a dream. Exactly.
Definitely. That's what I was kind of, sorry, it just takes me a bit long. Yeah. Like, that's what I'm trying to say, that the moment they will, it's just the piracy, the thing I'm used to, right?
Sure.
That's why I'm taking it as an example, right?
Yeah.
The moment they will openly say on Spectrum, guys, you're getting killed while trading on Bezdek is normal, they take the Imagine thing out from a trader who expects to trade freely wherever he wants, and then he starts to like, oh wait, like what? I won't be able to go wherever I want without any danger to hold my blood. Oh, I should rethink my approach to this game.
Yeah, and they take it away from you, the pirate, as well, where you still have some imagined moments in your head, I'm sure, too, about what you're going to be capable of doing and all that, right? So the second that they put it all into a box is the second they... Not only do they lose the imagined thing, but now they are held to that box forever. So this is like a dilemma that I don't envy them. It's a shitty place to be. But I think that we would be in a better situation if they do communicate that stuff more often again. And like things like the old days about the mining design guide, all that stuff. I think it's way better to be put in a box and expand the walls of the box than to not have a box at all and allow everybody to just freely imagine of what the game's going to be. Because in the long run, it's going to hurt a lot more than it helps. Is just how I look at it.
You're so on point. You create the freaking box, and then you look at the reaction.
Yeah.
If you feel the reaction is bad, and it's just not even the reaction on the spectrum, you look at how it works.
Yeah, you can create the box in the game.
If it doesn't work, you just say, "Sorry, guys, it doesn't work out. It's for you, for the best for you," and we scrap the box and we like kind of tweak it or make it different. Yeah. But keeping silent is the worst thing. No one knows what we're going to be, what we will be playing in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. No one knows. No one understands that, because right now Star Citizen is I'm sorry, CG, but Star Citizen is a glorified cargo hauling game with no brains to do that. And
my wife called it playable concept art.
Oh yeah, I remember that, man. I used a playable. It's a playable concept art game. I used that phrase when I heard it from your wife so many times in my streams. Sorry for stealing that, but that's like, it's on point, man.
Yeah,
it's like on point.
It's great.
It just what is Star Runner right now? Tell me, what is Star Runner right now?
Oh, it's a smuggling ship.
Glorified cargo hauler.
It's a smuggling ship.
What is like? No one knows. Like no one knows what its character is. Besides, it can outrun any interdictor in game. Mm-hmm. No one knows how the exploration game. Like, how can you buy a ship? It's just like this mindset that the community grown in the years because no one had a gameplay, so their only gameplay was Imagine, right?
Yeah.
Imagine thing. It's sad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not sad. It's just the way it goes, but. These moves, when they do these sneaky moves with pricing, it just brings up those questions once again. Those questions are buried under like layers of dust, and then they do something, and we have an ATC talking about this because it brings up all these questions.
Yeah, and I guess we'll probably end it because we've been going for half an hour now, and we have like 6 people in the list. But the last thing I'd like to say is it really seems like the focus is still very much on the marketing and very much on the pricing of things, and not a whole lot on the communication of what these things will actually do, how they actually function in the game, and all that. And I saw somebody ask in Twitch chat, like, how is the 100i? It was in its first patch in the PTU. It's clearly not set up yet. There's some issues with it that it's just, there's no way it's working as intended. So we're not really talking about the 100i in terms of its functionality yet, because it's not ready to be spoken about.
The one thing before I hop off, thing before I hop off, I would like to add, the thing I do appreciate though from the CG side is they started communicating better with the 311. And we can only hope it will develop from here, because I think they're feeling... so Invictus Week brought up a lot of new guys who bought these starter packages that are in question right now and all that. And then you could immediately see that there was so much new blood and probably so much stress on them. They finally got their shit together. Now we can purchase all the ships in the game. Now they stay, and they started communicating on the patch notes on what's coming. So we can only hope this will develop into the better communication, but we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, I hope so. I don't know how to go. If they start communicating more, like, I think the communication of the, hey, we're going to raise this price, like, literally a month in advance is a smart thing. I think everything that they've done about it is good. It's just the type of communication I'd love to see them move into. And I don't want to be like, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's just something that I think would really benefit the game overall, is that discussion of the creating, putting themselves back in the box, I think is really important, because you can always expand the box or get a different one and remove it completely, is talking about the actual game and what our experiences might be like. Because how can you possibly design a game without knowing what the intentional experience should be in the first place? I want the experience to be this. Okay, designers, go make it happen, right? So I think we, as people who have invested hundreds, thousands into the game, that I think it's appropriate that we understand what that initial design is. But all right, Space, we'll let you go. I really do appreciate you coming on, because, again, I really trust your opinion and really value it. So I thought this would be a lot of fun to have a back and forth.
For the invitation.
Of course, anytime, man. You need no invitation. Come on anytime.
Okay, see you around.
Thanks. Everybody. All right, Doctor is back in the queue. We got you fixed. Welcome, Dr. Introvertitious. I'm just calling you Doctor from now on. How's it going?
I'm all right.
So, what do you think about these starter ships?
Starter ships? I don't really like them anymore. Just think to say starter ship, because you don't really do a whole lot in a starter ship. Like, you know, we do like the cargo things where you have to take like something around, and all it is, ostensibly. That's all the starter thing is. And the 300i is a 60 book ship. It's not really a 60 book ship at all. It's a very, I don't know what to call it.
It's just a bigger starter ship, because the experience is exactly the same.
How
is my experience in the 300i any different than my experience in the 100i? That's the question that I have here. Is it just looks different?
It just looks different. It's something aesthetic about it.
Yeah, I mean, it might have a couple of, more gun. It might have, this many guns. This is the thing, and I remember back in the day when they decided how they were going to price ships, I think both in and out of game, it was going to be based on components. And that's where I think things might start to break down a little bit slightly, because it isn't about what components that it comes with. It should be about what components it's capable of coming with. And I think we talked about this a bit earlier, was that the 100i comes with 2 size 3 weapon slots, while the Aurora MR has 4 size 1s. So their idea and their understanding is that the DPS would be the same. So then the experience that you get should be about the same, but it's slightly different. And that does make sense, but does that work in the game when you start taking it from the 100i to the 300i? So I think the 300i has 3 size 3s, maybe? Correct me if I'm wrong in the Twitch chat, guys, but how does that vastly different, Why would I upgrade from the 100i to the 300i? It's weird.
And again, it's all the aesthetics about it. Like the 300i and the other ship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you like the aesthetic of the 300i, you'll pick that one. But I haven't seen that a whole lot yet.
Yeah.
Because it isn't open to everyone.
Yeah.
And that's the issue about it.
Um, sorry, I just got a text that was distracting, but the that's the hardest thing is, and I'll ask you this then, is okay, so we've addressed that currently there's no difference between a starter ship and the I guess the medium tier ships, the next level. And then we obviously know that things do start to branch out, because like I would say the next level is something like 300i, Cutlass, stuff like that. And right at where the Cutlass is, it starts to branch out into specializations. So it's very clear once you get into ship specialization, which is like, all right, well, this is a cargo hauler, this is a mining ship, this is an exploration ship, which, like Cutlass said, we don't know what it is. But once you start to get into specializations, it's very clear what the experiences are. But in these like basic ones, there is no difference. So why is there these vast price differences and these weird things? Now I'd ask you this, Doctor, and I'm going to ask everyone of this, is what's your solution to the problem? What is, when a new player plays this game and he buys the cheapest package, what are his, how would you design the levels of progression? How would you be a backseat developer or a game designer for now? How would you do it differently? What would your experiences be like?
I would have it as like a reputation, so I
Okay.
could do some stuff like a certain faction or people, and then after a time to say, hey, we have all these other options for you.
In
Because
terms of
for
what
the
ships
stuff
you can buy?
yeah,
So
that's what I
you
would say.
so you have so okay, but what if I purchased a 300i on the website? This is where everything starts to break down with the reputation problem,
Yeah,
right?
that's the
I
issue.
bought a
And
300i on the website. Do I have more reputation at the start of the game than you?
I don't think that should apply like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting thing to think about now because of like the spending and the repping game. It's just there's no easy way to fix it
Yeah.
currently. It's just I don't know. The startership experience is not good, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, I had Cutlass Black after about two,
2 weeks?
well, not 2 weeks, but two months.
2 months.
After
Okay.
2 months of playing, I had a Cutlass Black.
Gotcha. Yeah, because you realize that you just can't enjoy a good majority of the game.
Yeah,
So maybe, yeah, I think you hit on something. Is that maybe the game isn't where it needs to be yet, and it's just instead of it's a ship problem or a communication problem, maybe it's just the mission team doesn't have everything they need in it. We don't have all the other aspects of the game, and it just comes down to the fact that if there's not a lot to do, the starter experience is going to suck regardless until you get into the specializations. And the Cutlass is the first ship that allows you now, especially, you can do
yeah.
cargo hauling
you
somewhat
can-
successfully and mining. So the Cutlass is that first ship that I'm instantly able to get into specializations and careers, where ships like the starter ships is where you're supposed to be able to figure that out.
Yeah, because that, that's how I did it.
Okay.
Like I had no Aurora MR,
Mm-hmm.
and I sort of went right. It's like how does all this work? And then I
Yeah.
did all these things, and then I went right. Okay, what else is there I can do?
Yeah.
And then that's how I have these other ships.
Makes sense. And that's I don't know if that's like the great scam. Where it's like, oh well, what else I could do? Well, I can't mine, so now I have to buy it, but
Yeah, that's
yeah, but the thing is you can get them in game. The problem now is that there's not enough of the game isn't have enough variables where you can enjoy it enough to want to earn it in the game. It is quite painful to earn it in the game.
That's the issue, yeah.
Yeah. But all right, Doctor, is there anything else you want to add before I let you go?
No, not really.
All right, man. Well, thanks for your call.
Yeah.
I think you made us, like, you brought us to a point where it's like, it's not the marketing necessarily is the problem. It's not the lack of communication, although that is definitely a problem with this.
Yeah,
but it's more of the what you can do in the game is a little bit too repetitive and not enjoyable. Therefore, the starting experience is not enjoyable, and the starting experience should give you every taste of what the game is. So you could choose which direction you want to go, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it should end out like.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's everything that we could touch on in this call.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Doctor. I'll see you in Eco.
Yeah.
Talk to you later, buddy. Bye now. All right. Our next caller is Unmatched. What's up, dude?
Hey, how you doing? You can hear me good?
I can hear you perfect. How you doing?
I'm freezing right now. My landlord didn't turn on the heat yet, and
What?
for the
Where do
past
you
week,
live?
I live in New York.
It's cold?
But yeah, it's 46 up where I live. I'm an hour north of the city, and
Oh, wow.
it's 46 right now. Last week I had to take cold showers because the hot water boiler was broken, and she had to replace that. So
Global warming, brother.
yeah. So we're here to talk about starter ships, right?
I guess the starting experience more than anything.
Yeah. The starting experience. Well, I'd like to say that me as a gamer, I'd like to say that
Are you a professional gamer?
not anymore. I went for the
okay.
past 2 years and a half. Like for the first half of those 2 years and a half, when I was just doing Uber, which was a stupid big mistake. I was gaming super hard. I have a whole list of all these games I beat and stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
And I was I burnt out on it. So I wouldn't say gaming really doesn't like give me that feeling anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, true.
And I would say as a gamer right now, though, the games that I want to play is a game that either give you a totally new experience that you've never had before, or it's challenging. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's what I want. I don't think you should be making any type of game right now unless you're doing that. You know what I'm saying? And those games normally come from Japanese developers, the ones that give you experiences that you never had before. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I like challenging games is because Dark Souls 3 ruined every game for me. Basically, you know, ever since that, I've just been wanting a challenge. You know?
All right. So how do you bring that challenge or brand new experience? I think you're most likely going to get a brand new experience from a game like Star Citizen rather than a challenge, especially from a starter experience. Probably shouldn't be too challenging, right?
Yeah, and that's why I like Star Citizen, because it's given me feelings that I've never had before. You know, like one thing that I'll never forget is the first time I had 6 hammerheads on my screen, and I was still getting good frames. You know, each hammerhead is like the size of a Call of Duty map. You know, and I just realized that I have all these like 50 people in my view, and these gigantic ships in my view, and I'm not lagging. So, and like when I saw Constellation flew over me for the first time, it was another thing. It gave me an experience that I never had. But the reason why we're having this conversation right now is because I feel you said earlier, you said we don't know how different the starter ships are. We just know that they cost less.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why you said that is because the starter ships aren't starter enough. You understand what I'm saying? It's not low enough on the pole to where you feel like, oh, I'm a newbie. I have nothing. I just came out of the Marines. I'm trying to, get to a certain place. But you're getting out of the Marines and you're hopping into a brand new Toyota. You know what I'm saying?
All right, I could buy that. But under the condition that we tie it back into this reputation system a little bit. Here's what I would love to see, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna go on a little bit of a monologue during your call for a second, so I'll give you more time. Unmatched, of course. With that said, because I agree with you, but I don't at the same time. I think what should really happen is with guys like Luke Presley and the mission team is no matter what ship you have, so Unmatched, you have an Idris, I have an Aurora. The first missions that are available to you, and I think more of the game should be running through this whatever dynamic mission system is, and you're less free in terms of making credits with a starting experience, and have less information to you. So let's say, for example, you have an Idris, you can carry tons of cargo, and maybe that's one of the few ways to make money in the game outside of a quote-unquote new player experience. But maybe through reputation, you don't have the information at hand of where to go and what to buy because it's hidden through some sort of reputation block.
Yeah.
Right?
Or quest. Reputation quest.
Sure.
Different.
Yeah, you're not part of the mission guild or the mercenaries guild or the merchants guild. Sorry, the merchants guild. So therefore, you don't have access to that information. Now, the starting experience being done through the mission team is what I'd like to see. I would love to see everybody who spent $20,000 on this game to get completely jebaited. That's what I'd love to see.
Yeah, me too. I would love that.
It would make me the happiest man on the face of the planet. Is that when you jump into this game, the first thing that pops on your screen is you open your Moby Glass, it pops up, and your missions that are available to you are ship limited. So you can only do these with this size of ship because you got to get through a tight space, or you need to go fly under the radar, right? Like driving a Prius or driving like a Toyota, right?
Yeah,
you need to fly under the radar for those things. Like that's what I would like to see. You could use your ship later on, that big boy that you have, but for these specific missions, you need these limited ships. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I wanted to get
I would
that out
totally
there.
love that too. I would love for those people to get totally screwed over, including myself. I'm not.
Yeah, I spent that much money, guys.
Starfare.
I've spent that much money. So yeah,
I own a Starfare and stuff like that. Again, I've spent 900. If you look at my account, it says I spent 930. But if you count gray market stuff, I'm closer to $1,300-$1,400. I would like to do that too. I would love for everybody to start, in a certain area, for the guys that has the javelins to be like, oh, you can't fly this because you either don't have the reputation, you don't have the certification to fly that. It's not like in real life anybody could go hop in a $200 million super yacht and sail that around.
Yeah.
So I would love for that to happen, but again, as I was saying, I feel like the starter ships are not starter enough. You're supposed to be some guy out of the Marine. You don't go straight out of the Marine into like a brand new Toyota unless you're taking out debt to do it. You know what I'm saying? You don't, and like to compare to the rest of the starter ships. Hold on one second. Let me pull up the thing. Like I would say the Mustangs and the Auroras are like a Toyota. That Freelancer is like a box truck. That Andromeda is like a semi truck, and that Carrack is like a one of those luxury motorhomes. You know what I'm saying?
It's an RV. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a luxury RV. And I don't and going back to what I was said earlier about the way I like to play games, I like everything to be a challenge. Like if you're fresh out of the Marines, you should be digging yourself out of the dirt in certain ways, trying to earn some experience, some certification, some money, some some certain licenses throughout the game. With digging yourself out of the dirt with a spoon and a bucket. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I would like. And then you upgrade that spoon in a bucket for a you get certain certifications, you get certain reputation and stuff like that. You go from a spoon in a bucket to a wheelbarrow and a jackhammer or something like that.
This whole thing is so crazy to me, right? Like I'm still blown away by the fact that on day one, you could Unmatched take your let's use let's use Cutlet's understanding of how good the arrow is. You could go out and take your anvil arrow, which I never knew it was this good because I don't do any combat, but you could take your anvil arrow out and go kill the highest tier NPCs on day one.
Yeah. That again, maybe they don't have an idea of what they want. That's why these ships, these so-called starter specs, are so skewed because they don't know what the game is fully going to be like. They don't have a progression, any type of idea what the progression system is going to be like, and it's going to be like all over the place. If like, let's say if it was even to start today, it'd be all over the place when it comes to like um you know uh, progression. Like again, I think the first guy, he said, Space Cusley said, like, what are people going to be able to do? They're going to be they'll be flying around in these javelins and stuff, and blast through the game in 2 months and then quit, or was it you that said that?
No, that's what he said.
They have to have, yeah, it just has to have a good progression system, and that goes back to like locking things behind missions, grinding, reputation systems, quests, all that kind of stuff, all these little minute things, it needs to be like hidden to give people reasons to play the game. You can't just, you know, just buy whatever you want and just, let God decide. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or like those guys are gonna, like, somebody with a javelin, they're gonna go to the edge of space and go fight, these big end game NPCs with 50 people on their ships, fully crewed, and I think the starting experience is really skewed, especially with the way the starter pack page look like right now.
Yeah.
I don't see any of these games starter. I don't think those Auroras should be even. I think, again, I liken the Auroras and the Mustang to a brand new Toyota. They're not low level enough. They could still be souped up. You could still soup up an Aurora and a Mustang. It's not like you're starting with like like a wooden
Yeah,
shield.
but that's all easy to adjust, right? That's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
easy
it
to
is.
change. And
It is.
what's wrong with the starter experience is that there isn't one. The starter experience in every game is that you fight low level mobs because that's what level you are. Well, there are no levels in Star Citizen, so how does this work?
But you can still dish out a good amount of fighting power, especially if you're skilled with an Aurora. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I've seen people doing it. That like some guy. I remember a while ago, he made a video of somebody trying to pick on him, and he like flashed on the screen, "You messed with the wrong Aurora flyer today," and he turns around and destroys the guy in his little Aurora.
Yeah.
So yeah, going back to what I was saying, I like grind. I like games to be difficult. I like everything to be earned. And again, I don't think those Auroras and those Mustangs are low enough. You should be like your starter ship should be a hoopty with like one gun mounted on the top. That's like a size 0 you know size 0 weapon that has low fire rate, and you have like 6 UEC of cargo, you know what I'm saying? And that should be your starter ship. And like, you just work yourself up from there. It gives value to the game when you work for what you have, you know what I'm saying? And nobody else can do it. If somebody could just come in and slap a whole bunch of money down and and basically be flying a better ship than you, then it ruins the experience for that player, knowing that somebody else could do that. Why am I investing 50 hours to upgrade my Aurora to like a freelancer when somebody could pay $100 and get that free go from nothing to a freelancer? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, the same
And
argument goes in MMOs. Hold on. Every single MMO goes, you could start at the beginning, or you could pay more, and we'll give you level 60 right away.
And that was a good selling point for Ashes of Creation, that they promised not to do that. But
yeah,
again, they when you have somebody,
New World 2 seems like they're not doing it.
Yeah, when you have something, a mechanic that does that, allows somebody to skip over gameplay for money, it ruins it for everybody, even if they don't want to do it. Even though the person will never do it, because that's when opportunity costs come in to the game. What am I giving up when I could just put down money, go work 5 hours, get that
Yeah,
$20. I mean, that $100, and just put that down and get that ship instead of grinding 100 hours
yeah,
in the game to get that ship.
and you can argue that that's a pay to win problem, but in the situation, people will go, "Who's winning?"
Yeah.
Right? Who's winning, Unmatched? Fucking CIG is the one that wins in that scenario.
Yeah,
They're the only one that wins.
Well,
Because you lose out the gameplay and the enjoyment of achieving something by buying the ship, and the player who doesn't feels like they're struggling and watching you literally just cheat past them by spending money. It's garbage. It's a shitty thing. The only people who win are fucking CIG in that spot, and it sucks.
On top of that, the thing that allows that to do it when you have these mechanics like that is that it allows players to it could ruin the experience for a lot of good amount of players at the end game. So let's use World of Warcraft as an example. Let's say if you just started World of Warcraft and you pay for the power boost, as if you in Star Citizen you'd boost yourself all the way up to a Carrack or something like that, right?
Sure.
You coming to the game, you start playing let's say a priest, and you boost yourself up to the max level, and you don't know how to play your class, but you want to go raid like high-end raids. So you go into a guild, get into that raid. You don't know how to play your class. You know what I'm saying? And same thing with Star Citizen. Some guy's gonna come in, he's gonna put the money down for a javelin. He's gonna hop in a javelin and be like, I can't fly this thing. I don't have enough people to do it. I don't know how to fly the ship in the first place. I don't even know how to keep it stocked with stuff. I didn't even know that you had to have all this stuff to keep it maintained, the weapons, the engine, the replacements parts, the cooling, and all that stuff,
And maybe you can't even earn the crew that can do it without earning the reputation. That's how you debate. That's how you get these guys. Like, again, we're trying to get these guys. I'm not trying to get anybody, but I think that's how you balance the game and make it the most fair for everybody. And like, I'm trying not to like attack anyone, but I really, really want to see some tears on some people who spent $20,000 on the game. I just want to, because I think the whole time it has hurt what the game could have been.
Yeah, I would love that too, but hopefully, towards the end, like towards them actually releasing the game, they stop on the ship selling, even though it doesn't look like it, and we just go to like them selling UEC and maybe and skins. Hopefully, it's just that. But other than right now, the reason why we're having this conversation is because of the greed factor on top of them. Greed factor on top of them not knowing what the end game is going to be like, on top of them don't know what the progression is going to be like, and it's just skewing everything right now. So that's what I have to say. And I just think that we need hoopties. We need an equivalent of a hoopty, like a $4,000 equivalent of a car, instead of a brand new Toyota, which is a Mustang or an Aurora. We need like a 1992 Honda version of that. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
That would be a real starter package. Here, dig yourself out of this hole after coming out of the Marine with this metal spoon in a bucket, and then later down you could get the Aurora and so on,
Okay.
So
yeah, I mean, I think instead of having a hoopty, I think it just comes down to what kind of components each thing can hold, and that's what makes it that hoopty feel. And then the missions that are available to you are the same that are available to everybody until you've earned the reputation, and maybe you restrict what ships could be used. Based on the mission, because it just wouldn't make sense to bring a Carrack to a certain mission that you would use an Aurora for, right?
Yeah. Well, that comes down to gameplay loops and everything like that. Stuff that we talked about in previous videos, but that's beyond the scope of this video, and don't want to get off topic,
Yeah, because you know. But all right, is there anything else you want to add before I let you go?
No, that's good. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Unmatched. Be good, buddy. All right, our next caller is Razer. He's muted, so I don't know if he's here. We'll see. Hey, Razer, can you hear me?
I hope I can.
Yes.
Mike, test.
Yep.
All right, let me mute the stream.
Thanks.
Okay, so starter ships, right?
Yes.
Here is how I would personally define, or more accurately, how I would want a starter ship to be. It's like a smaller sized ship with an interior, and that's very important for a crew of one with no specifications towards any particular gameplay path.
Sure.
Whichever they will be in the future, or how many will there be. So it doesn't have any special utilities, no special utility hardpoints either. Not heavily armored, subpar weaponry, but it can get you around and get basic tasks done, like doing entry-level combat, package deliveries that are meant to be for beginners, being able to transport a small bit of cargo. And they handle fairly well. And I think in this regard, we disagree with Unmatched heavily, is that I don't want the starter ship to be the worst or the weakest ship in the game, because I want the starter ship to be a good introduction to the game in the future.
So you don't want to
for new
hate it.
players.
Yeah, that's understandable.
No, absolutely
Okay.
not. And I want them to handle fairly well, but not exceptionally, not as exceptionally as like a smaller fighter. Easy enough for new players to get used to the controls of the game.
Yeah, but
Like
it should
the
be
Aurora-
the weakest. I agree. Like somebody said in chat, it should be the weakest, though, right?
No, I don't think so.
So then,
for
what
example,
ship would be the weakest? I mean, would it be like these?
like support chips. Listen.
Okay.
Let me try to explain. Like the Pisces, for example. The Pisces should be less than an Aurora. It's an addition to the Korok. It should be a small shuttle. It should have weaker. It should have weaker shields. It should be maybe weaker in some regards, less weaponry. Like this game offers so much when it comes to multi-crew. Like that's one of the core aspects of the game, or one of the core promises. It's still very much a promise, I would say, is that these support ships, or ships that complement another bigger ship, should, for example, or they can be weaker than the starter ship, if that makes sense for you. Do you think? Would you agree with that?
I agree. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so that's my definition as a starter ship.
Okay.
And
the Mustang is broken by your definition.
And that's my next point.
Mhm.
I would only make the Aurora the starter ship. It would simplify the buying of the game. You know how many people asked me about what is there to do, or how many?
You got to give people some choice. What if you made it so
I
it was
don't know.
the Aurora and then the 100 and then something else, and each one had a slight direction push towards one of the careers. So what if the Avenger Titan was actually not a Titan? What if it was a what is the one that begins with an S?
Stalker.
The Stalker. Is the Stalker the one that has the pods in it?
Yeah, it's the pods. Yes, the bounty hunter pods.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Maybe that is, so then you can, maybe I want to be a bounty hunter. And you could.
Okay, I agree. And then make it so they both cost $45. No, not more.
Yeah,
no
every starter
more.
should be the exact same price.
And then maybe have the Aurora and the 100i and the Avenger Stalker, and bring the Avenger Stalker weaponry or hardpoints down so they would match the Aurora, for example. But make this slight adjustment, I would say. And it should still have an interior where you can place boxes. It should still have maybe one SEO of cargo, so the player can experience, or the new beginning player can still experience that aspect of the game, starting with his starter ship.
What if your starter package was not a ship and you chose the ship once you played?
Perfectly fine. Again, yeah. I would love to do that. Maybe you can have these loners in like the practice range where you cannot move out or in a system. But we are again getting into the future of the game, which is extremely uncertain.
Sure.
I will touch on that later if you allow me to kind of delay.
Well, I think that's the problem.
For a bit.
So I'd love to touch on that.
Yeah. So, for example, I would remove every single seat fighter from starter package like considerations or starter packs. Remove the Mustang, obviously remove the arrow. Cutlet very well pointed that out.
Yeah.
That's like a high skill cap, single shield, small fighter. So remove because it's very important for new players to experience Star Citizen and the uniqueness it can and hopefully will offer one day. And a huge part of that is that your ship feels yours and you have an interior to look at, and there are specific times that you spend inside your ship. Let the interior be as small as it is. So I would remove every single seater from game packages, not game packages, starter packages.
Okay. I agree, and I think it should be game packages. I don't think there should be any game packages outside of actual game packages that package like a bunch of ships in and are just stupid expensive for the people that are just insane and want to spend lots of money in the game because they want to support it. I think game packages should literally be the only game package you can get is whatever a starter package would be. So it'd be, Aurora, Mustang, 100i, Reliant, and that should probably be it. And those are your 4, and those are all the same price, and they all rock, paper, scissors each other in different ways. They all have about the same DPS, about the same shields, but there's like little balances each way.
Yes, and here is where I would like to touch on the price difference between the Titan and the Aurora or the 100i.
Sure.
So, and it's been something that's been bothering me so much recently. The more I think about it, the more it frustrates me. Is that I hate being nickel and dimed in this game, quote unquote game. For every single little thing, starting from the CIG being obsessed with like $5 price increases on ships, having to buy sub players after already being a subscriber, $2 coffee cups on the 300i or the 300 series. Every single thing is just an additional couple bucks you have to throw in, even the tiniest, most insignificant thing, and this price increase, especially with the ships or the Titan game package, it just goes to show that that CIG is so unreasonably obsessed with ship prices, and that also just reinforces everyone, let it be outsiders or veteran players, everyone's suspicion. It reinforces that ship sales are here to stay, and they are always the thing that matters the most about this project, well ahead of everything else, including this extremely underwhelming patch we are about to get. And everything else is secondary after the ship sales, because the ship sales are like they seem to be created in like the most perfect equilibrium, and they always seem to get the most attention, and it just gets so tiring. And I'm not even like a very long backer either, and it's already really just such a pain for me to see. And it really does seem to be that it is here to stay, and that's going to be a fundamental flaw of this game.
I'm speechless. Yeah,
would you agree?
Of course, yeah. It's scary. It's the scariest part of all of this, right? Is that you're right. How do you disagree with you in this situation? You can't. Is the amount of time that they spend on these things? It shows what's actually important. And
talking about important, other parts or other aspects of the game itself, like the actual game, we are playing I would consider the game right now to be in a pre-alpha state, right? It's more than a proof of concept, but nowhere near like something that I would say is a working alpha state of a game. Yeah. And that leads into another issue of mine with this entire project is, if you would allow me to slightly change topic, more to the state of the PTU or how the game is shaping up in general, is that we are essentially right now playtesting, correct?
Absolutely.
And I feel that our testing and feedback is not really taken into consideration, or we are just not being given enough to test. In this alpha state, what I would love, for example, is for any ship component to be frequently updated. Let there be weapons,
How does this apply
shields,
to the
power
starter ship
plants.
situation, though?
It's more about the PTU state in general. Sorry, I'm going off topic a little bit. Admittedly.
If you could tie it into the starter ship experience, go for it. But I'm losing you on this one a little bit.
It's more about the price increase or the price changes and how negative the feedback was, and CIG still ignoring it, just like they kind of ignore what I feel like our input is.
Okay, how about this? This applies to what somebody said in chat. We're all complaining over $5 when everybody spent more than $1,000 on this game. Obviously, not everybody spent more than $1,000 on this game, but most of us are probably concierge backers that are having these discussions and are willing to talk this deeply about Star Citizen, right? That would be my guess. And the issue isn't that. It's not about $5. Okay, it's not about $5. It's about the principle of things. It's about the amount of energy and where the communication lies. Is the amount of energy and time spent on these things is on making a $5 increase, trying to squeeze the stone dry of every ounce of water of each backer. That's what it feels like, and that's the problem. That's what we have an issue with when it comes to the price increase of the non-starter versus the starter. So you could squeeze the extra $5 or $10 out of the starter ship, going, well, the 100i, that's a luxury starter ship. Therefore, we're going to charge $60 for it. I don't care. I bought it when it was cheaper, probably. I don't even know if I have it on my account or not. It's the idea of treating us with respect overall is what's important, and I think that's what Razer tied into.
And can I quickly tie into that?
Nickeled and dimed. Go ahead.
Yeah. So somebody mentioned that. Do I want them to rebalance the game every single patch? And my answer is yes. Some of the things, yes. Then otherwise, what are we exactly doing in an alpha? Is that why are we not given more to experiment and to play around with? We have to somehow, in this state of the game, somehow crawl into a balanced sort of gameplay, a balanced pricing, balanced new player experience, a balanced end game experience, balanced ships, balanced components. That's what we are doing right now, right? And I feel like CIG taking this much time caring about ships, with the most accurately pricing things, so it makes sense in their weird state where they want ships to cost hundreds of dollars. I don't know. It's mental to me that how abandoned the game actually itself feel, and I feel like CIG is not necessarily taking the feedback as much. And the worst part is what I have seen in your chat is that the community always, a huge part of the community always just rallies behind CIG and defends them. For example, let's say there is a weapon that you think does too much damage, and you make a very well-articulated Spectrum post about giving feedback, and there is always in the first 5 minutes immediately someone saying that, oh, no, it doesn't make sense to criticize this weapon because armor is not in the game, or shield holes are in the game, or the shield tech is not there yet. Or another example, somebody says the Hammerhead is an objectively worse ship because you need 7 people to crew it, and putting those 7 people in small fighters will 100% of the time will be just an objectively better way to play the game than the Hammerhead. And then you will have people again saying that, oh, it's not the final iteration of the Hammerhead yet. We are barely reaching a point where we have to jump longer distances. Small fighters will not be able to jump. So then again, what are we exactly doing here? And then we are not getting enough gameplay, people are complaining, and then people say, oh, by the way, gameplay is all lined up, like 2 or 3 MMOs worth of content is just all lined up behind this imaginary door at CIG, and we are just waiting for iCache and server meshing. And
when
then
are you going to talk about starter ships?
I'm sorry, I am really making a tangent here, but it's just more like a frustration that comes with CIG really thinking about these like $5 changes in
Yes.
essentially ships that very much feel the same and ignoring the bigger picture.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
and
Yeah,
it's okay. It's okay. You're frustrated with the game. I understand. We all are. Sorry, I wanted to let you go and get it out of your system a little bit because you needed to get it out clearly. Because I feel the same way as you. It's the thing is I agree. If we had this, we are going to have some of those people make a comment below on this channel saying, "Why are you even talking about this? Why am I even talking about this? Because it's year 8 and you don't know the answer of what a starter ship is. Razer doesn't. I don't. Nobody does. That's the problem. Is what is my experience supposed to be like? So I'm putting it out there that, hey, you know what? We probably should know what the starting experience should be like. And you know what else we should probably know? What steps we're going to have to take to get out of that starter experience. And then what steps we're going to take to get to the end game. What's the end game going to look like? What are your intentions for this game? Because if you don't share those, then I have no fucking idea what I'm spending $5 extra for, right? That's my issue, is I have no idea. Okay, charge $5 more. I mean, that's what I started with the whole discussion, is it's not about the money. Because how can it be? Because I have no idea what I'm spending more money for in the first place. And that's the issue here with the starter ship is the idea of we don't even know what we're arguing about. You know? It's crazy. This whole thing is nuts. It is this anomaly. How did this happen? How did we get here? It's nuts. And then they called it a quadruple A game at one point. Are you kidding me? Yes, I'm blown away. I'm absolutely blown away.
And about
how do you
me
fix
not
it,
knowing
Razer?
anything.
Use your imagination a little bit. How do we fix the starter experience?
Honestly, I would say they need to, and this again ties back to multi-crew. They need to make it so it's worth for people to cooperate in this game together. That's one of the core promises, and I believe that not just flying your own ship alone would be a great introduction to the game. If they ever get multi-crew properly working in the game, and that's just obviously that's not the entire thing.
Okay, explain
that's just
a little
something
bit
that
more.
Immediately comes to mind.
All right, so hold on. The starter experience is a single-seater ship with an interior.
Yes, that's one of.
Sure. So then I guess we can't have the Reliant involved in that. But let's from your perspective of what a starter will be, then let's walk through each step. So you have a few missions like that, and then how will the game transition you into how do you meet a friend and it, like that's what your expectations of the starter experience would be. I'm asking you, I guess, in this situation.
Okay. Oh no. Again, Mike, I 100% agree with you. So you spawn into the game. I would say there are 3 missions, 3 like starting missions, and you are given loaners for those missions. So the 3, let's say that what we have talked about previously, let's say that we are using the Avenger Stalker, the 100i, and the Aurora, and they are all serving a slightly different purpose.
Yeah.
And you are given those for those specific missions. So you get to experience a slightly different aspect of the game, maybe a bit of a combat with the Stalker, maybe cargo hauling with the Aurora, maybe the 100i.
Atmosphere 100i flight, right? Flies really well in atmosphere,
something like that. It's like shuttling an NPC from one point to another. I don't know, something basic. And then you get to make a choice, and the game points it out that it's obviously gonna be your starter ship, but there will be more options opening up in the future.
Sure.
And then you would move on to what I would consider right now to be the most exciting and interesting aspect of the game, which is probably components, or like the main sense of progression, right? Because everybody is using the ships they bought for real money. Very few people buy or don't have the ships they want to use, and they are willing to grind hours upon hours the same repetitive missions for a dream ship of theirs in the game right now. So I would say right now the main progression path is components. So maybe if you have your starter ship, then you would move into upgrading that ship, and the game would let you play different combat missions with different weapons, for example, and then you would have a feel of what kind of weapons you would like to purchase. And then maybe components. The game would explain that a better power plant provides more power. Maybe the thrusters would work better, and you would move up with the components. And once you have components,
but you have to hit a wall at some point, right?
Exactly. And again, I am not a game developer. I play this game a lot. I think CIG can make missions that will limit your ability, so that you have to use a higher end ship.
Yeah,
I think in the future, obviously. But yeah, so eventually you hit the wall. But again, we are back at a point where I 100% agree with what you said previously, and what Space Cutlet mentioned is that unfortunately, because everything we have relies around ship sales, having the main progression path be upgrading or obtaining better ships, or just obtaining better ships in general, yes, will what I believe lead us to a game that's dead on arrival. And that's just what I think. If the main progression path is something that the alpha backers have been playing with their wallets for 12 years, for 10 years, or how long the game will stay in an alpha state, then the game is dead on arrival, because it's essentially entirely skippable. And there is just no point to it.
That's why I'm so intrigued by this reputation thing, because it's the opportunity to solve that problem. Because I think we both agree that this will not be dead on. Well, I don't know if we agree, but I do not think this will be a dead on arrival game, because
I don't think so,
it's already arrived, and we have every opportunity to speak up and say how much of a problem XYZ thing will be, and give them the opportunity to fix it before it ever arrives in the first place. So as long as, like you said, they actually listen to the feedback.
Yeah, and
the game might already be dead. It's pretty dead right now.
Oh, it is, yes. And really, they have to somehow make it so ships are not like the main thing in the game to obtain, or to like want and grind towards, because that's not gonna work. Make it so they are like a husk, and then components are what truly matter, or weapons, something else. That's scary, because that can what I believe poses the biggest threat to this game being a success is that they will stay on the ship are the main path, and you can just buy yourself up all the way to a javelin and call it a day with your wallet. It's scary.
And obviously, I would imagine there's some level of story that's involved with the game as well, and maybe different ships would be needed to follow some sort of storyline within the game. Every MMO tends to have some sort of storyline that you can follow through some sort of a quest chain. Somebody was mentioning that in chat, that you can do progression through a progression path through a quest chain, and I think that works really well as well. But Razer, is there anything else before we let you go, man?
Just a final note, and this goes out to all the Spectrum tryhards in every single thread regurgitating what CIG said in a random post or a tweet or a Discord server years ago, is that CIG has no idea what the final state of the game will look like. Maybe Chris Roberts, in the back of his head somewhere, might have a general concept of how these different things will eventually tie in together. But the devs are making the game as we see it, and there is no laid down long-term path we journey on. And this hypothetical road is literally being built under our steps. That's it. That's I think that's what some people don't understand or don't see, and it bothers me how they fail to see it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us know that, but some people just tend to ignore it or whatever. They're figuring it out as they go, and it very much in 2020 feels that way. So that's a good way to end the call, Razer. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and sorry for the tangent.
That's okay. I know you needed to get it out, so I just let you have it for a little while. All right, man. Talk to you soon. Be good, Razer.
Talk to you.
Bye
See you,
now.
Mike.
All right, and our next caller, I saw him in chat say that my point is now invalid, so let's see what that point was. Welcome, Beefy Joe. How you doing, man? Yeah, I saw you say that, somebody took my point or something, so I hope it's not too ruined and we can keep talking.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just like, what's wrong with the starter ships? It just feels like the wrong way to go about funding the game at this point. Like, if that makes sense. Like, you've mentioned it, like I've mentioned it, like I think a subscription model is really where the game needs to go, and the focus needs to come away from ships and into gameplay. And just, it's so, I don't know, like if they want this to be an MMO, which their main site doesn't mention, but they do have some MMO marketing, because that's how I got here. I don't know.
Okay.
Like, yeah,
well,
and
I agree. I
like,
agree,
I don't know.
but how do you do that at this stage when people have literally spent down payments on a house to get ships and have an advantage?
Well, like, I think that half of it's the marketing. The marketing's
Yeah.
just wrong.
Sure.
Like, it shouldn't be a starter package. It should be a founder's package.
Okay.
Because that's really what it is. And that's what a lot of other early access games call them. Like, founder's package. Like, you can pay, $45 or, $10,000. And, like, you get, a bunch of exclusives in game, like, that nobody else is going to get.
Sure.
And just, like, they've gone about marketing it so wrong. I don't know, man. It's frustrating and hard to think about, like, how they could change it. I just, like, you should have to pay for a base package of the game, $60. The same price as any other game. And I do think that there should be a $10 a month subscription, just like they already offer. Like, they already offer a subscription, but it's so shit. Like, why would you ever use it? Like, the subscription should be to gain access to play the live service. Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I agree.
Because they are. Yeah,
like, I'm fully on the sub-model train. Like, I think that's the only way this game survives is by doing that, because the more you allow people to just skip progression, I think somebody touched on it earlier in the episode, is that it creates this level of animosity. Right? Where it's like, well, that guy just skipped over me. And even we go all the way back to the episode of Saurus, when Saurus was on Answer the Call, and he talked about how when I see somebody flying an 890 jump, that should be the most incredible thing I've ever seen, because that guy worked for it. But I don't get that opportunity now, because I sit here with my starter ship, grinding through my starter experiencing, not knowing whether or not that guy bought the ship with real money and threw it on his credit card or what.
Yeah, and it's just demoralizing. Like, I don't know, like they need to stop making ships, and they need to start making missions. But they can't make missions because the server tech's there.
Yeah.
So why are we making ships and not upgrading the servers? Because
it's not like, they're mutually exclusive. They're not tied to each other, man.
I know, but
but you have to know.
Get rid of some developers who are making ships and hire some more people who can do servers.
They are hiring those people, but it's not. Not that simple.
I'm sorry.
I gotta calm down that argument, because it is super frustrating, and I know exactly where your frustration's coming from. But it's not that simple. If it was that simple, like, what do you think? You're a magician genius, and you just figured out the whole problem with Star Citizen? Of course they know that, right? And I'm not trying to shit on you, Beefy. You know I have a lot of respect for you, but it's the whole thing of, a lot of people say exactly what you just said, and it's not a fair statement to make. They have 100 openings on their website. One of them happens to be like a monetization officer or something, right? But other ones are definitely networking guys. So, like, it's not fair to say that, you know, they don't have a guy who can pass their exam to get into the game, basically, because you have, in order to do this stuff, you would probably have to be pretty knowledgeable in certain things like CryEngine and others, right? But they don't only hire artists. So it's just a tough statement to make, but I know exactly your frustrations and mine lie in the exact same situation. Is why are we not getting why are we not seeing progress on the things that are actually important?
Yeah.
And why are we seeing progress on the things that aren't? It's super frustrating. I understand.
And I don't know. And I thought like it might just be relevant because the starter experience should be an experience. It shouldn't be a
Yes.
ship.
Agreed.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. And
Like, yeah.
and how would
Like
you
maybe,
do that? Let's
well, you mentioned it before. Like you
Yeah.
like I don't know. Like put the starter ships in a tier. You get the base package of the game, $60, whatever. You
Sure.
can pick between an array of starter ships. Like, and depending on the one that you start with, you enter a slightly different entry state of the game.
Okay.
Similar to like a game like Mountain Blade Warband, like in the past RPG. Like you're a guy on the plains, like riding a horse, like, oh, you're with the horsemen. Like, oh, you're a dude in a castle, like you're with the kings. Like, you know, and
Yeah, and they have their
Redania
special
or whatever.
qualities.
Yep, yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
like you do a series of missions with your starter ship that would put you at a point where like, oh, I now have seen how to play this kind of role that I wanted to learn how to play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that would be the way I'd fix it. And then you'd have to pay $10 a month to play the game.
Yes, and I think
To fund the servers.
yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be turned off by that, but I am 100,000,000% on board with that, and I think it should be 15.
Yeah.
I know people would be upset by that because they spent money, but it's just the reality of things.
Yeah. And then just reclassify the stuff before as founders packages, and you get to keep that stuff.
Yep.
You know, when the game launches, whoop-de-dee, like whatever, like it doesn't matter. Like just make it so that people coming in for the future, because this is a live service, I don't know, like it, like the model needs to be changed to be a service of a game, not a service of a ship sim. I don't know. I don't know.
I agree.
I'm at the end.
How long have
I
you
don't
been a
really know what
backer?
else to say. Oh, that's the funny thing. June 1, 2020.
Oh boy! Oh, you sweet summer child.
Yeah. It didn't
right.
take me long to figure it out. So yeah.
Hey, yeah. Welcome to the club, brother. Welcome to the club.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
man. Beefy.
Scammed.
It sounds like it's the end of the call too. Is there anything else you want to add?
That's it, man. I think that getting a base package subscription and choosing from an array of classified starter ships, whether that changes over the years or whatever, but I think that's the right move.
Yeah. Somebody just messaged me and says golden ticket holders will be here 10 years next week. That's not true. You're an idiot. Yeah, it's 2012. All right, goodbye, Beefy. We'll let you go. I'm going to bring on our next caller, but thank you so much for your call. And yeah your
no
frustrations aren't lost. They're in the right place.
All right.
Later, brother. All right, our next caller is Sigma Tech. Sigma, welcome. How you doing?
Mic check. You can hear me, Mike?
I hear you great.
Perfect. All right. I have a few key points that I'll run through quite quickly. So,
and you're up late.
We'll see how we go. Yeah, it's nearly 5 a.m., man, but that's the passion, man. Like, I love watching your show, and I just want to contribute something to it. So,
well, thank you.
Let's get straight into it. So, what's wrong with the starter ships? So, I think that you've kind of touched on a lot of key points with the previous callers on what that experience is. I kind of came in being the guy that said, Auroras are ugly, I don't like them. I don't have the money for a Connie, which is not even a starter ship, right? Mustang, I'm not really a dogfighter, so that's not really me. And at the time, the Avenger Stalker was the thing that said, right, it's a cool looking ship, it's got utility, and it's got purpose. Those
Sure.
three things align, boom, buy it, easy. What does the starter experience mean now, though? Well, the way I think of it is it's designed to be a variation of tasks that are standardized and built to be achievable in the most fundamental or basic terms that aim to teach you something about the game.
Yes.
Does any of that sound like it's functional at this point in time?
No.
Right.
Somewhat.
So how can we... Some of it is, yeah, I would agree, but not
Like,
all
I
of
think
it.
box delivery missions are fantastic. I think they're the first thing anybody should do in the game. You get a sense of how your ship
Absolutely.
flies in space and in atmosphere. There you go.
Yep. And I mean, you could do like low levels of trading. You can kind of do bounty hunting. You like the kinder is the part that kind of ties it all together.
Mm-hmm.
With that in mind, with it having aspects of it that are broken, I feel that that ties into the problem with the starter ships themselves.
Yeah.
So I've kind of run through some key points that I'm kind of hoping maybe you'll agree with or not.
Okay.
There'd be room for kind of some conflict, but that's fine.
Sure.
As someone who bought that Stalker way back in 2013, I bought that ship and then never played. Hangar module was the only thing that existed, and then back in 2019, I came back to check in what was going on. That was when the 890 jump was in PTU.
Oh, wow. Okay.
From that experience until now, I would say from my perspective, the ship that changed the way that this is all perceived is the Pisces, 100%. And like what everybody else has said, it's too expensive for what it offers. And why is the C8 by itself not the ship that's being offered instead of the X that's being offered? Doesn't sound like there's kind of a right fit there. And then it kind of ties into the second point where everybody just goes, well, the Titan's got the better loadout, got the better functionality, it's got the bed logging, it kind of just works in its favor, right? Then you've got the community that backs the Titan on top of that. So you've got word of mouth. Everybody goes, okay, you want to start the game, what do you pick? If you spend a little bit of money, you can get the Aurora or the Mustang, but if you've got a little bit more money, buy the Titan, right?
Yep.
Everybody agrees on that. Cool.
Sure.
That then creates that foundation that everybody goes, okay, buy that, good experience. Boom. Because you can spend too much time fighting bugs, that's the shit that'll help you fight your way through it. Cool. Something that Seiji needs to fix. Put it on the roadmap that doesn't exist currently. Maybe that's a good idea to start. Next thing. It's not about what's wrong with the ships. I think there's a problem happening here with marketing where there's some sort of weird thing going on where they're trying to deplatform the Titan by saying, because you love that ship so much, we're raising the price. But we want you to draw your attention to the 100 series instead. Because then the argument is...
Because they know, why would you buy the 100?
Exactly. And I feel like that's exactly what's going on. So it ties into the second part, which I don't want to stray too quickly or too far on, which I feel kind of happens with the pre-release pricing of certain ships. Buy it at a lower price now, but if you wait and that FOMO kicks in, you're going to get pinged harder later.
Yeah.
And I feel that what this Titan thing is saying is it's a signal to other ships that are going to have a similar problem.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I don't want to put fear-mongering into the picture, but I can't help but see it. The Cutlass Black. Everybody loves that ship.
Oh, it's
What
going
happens
up.
Yep. What happens when the Mercury Star Runner comes out and all of a sudden everything that you could do with that Cutty Black, you can now do with your Star Runner better and safer. Uh-oh. Monka S. Big problems. What about the Talon? What if the Talon ends up becoming a better fighter than the Gladius? Oh, whoa. Hadn't thought about that. So my key points that kind of tie off from that are we playing the website now more than ever when we should be voting with our wallets? My answer is, don't buy the 100 series if you don't need it. Simple as that. And my answer for that is, if an in-game brand is classified as premium, then why are we paying for that premium?
Yeah.
I feel like that's just a non-issue. My analogy to that is, your first car should never be a BMW. It should be the Honda. Because when you buy the Honda and it breaks down, you appreciate the costs and the work that you have from that car versus the guy that bought the BMW and wishes that he hadn't. Yeah, I'm calling you out, Javelin owners and Idris owners, because when that breaks down early in, I feel like you're going to be the ones that regret it. And all of us are going to be flying around in the cheaper, easier, maintainable stuff. So, last key points. How do you make this better? How do you make that starter experience better? You're right with the reputation. I'm going to quickly zoom through it, and I'm going to let everybody sink it in. So, there are 2 key things that I've listed. 1, I call it flying your flag. So I say simple skins. If you're a courier, you've got Covalex, Redwin, FTL, cargo skins. Stuff that makes you really stand out and say, right, I'm a trader, I'm a postman, whatever. If you are a Merc dogfighter, you can have, Crusader security skins, something that incentivizes you to kind of say, all right, that's what you do. People will see what you do. If you're a bounty hunter, you could then implement things like advocacy skins, because, that makes sense. Advocacy is going to be trying to hunt criminals all over the place. Makes sense. And then with the pirates, your cutlasses, your space cutlet, your Virgils, the people that go out of their way to look for that PvP, you start bringing in Ninetail skins. That way, when you see them coming, you're not looking at their ship, you're looking at the colors, you're looking at the skins, you're going, right, that's Cutlet coming for me, because Cutlet's got a very unique thing that makes him stand out, right? Boom, you've got that. But how do you make that just the skins? Well, you incentivize the gameplay loops that you're trying to build in without going too deep, but making it placeholder. Okay, you're a courier, make fuel cheaper. Give AUEC bonuses for delivering things faster on time. Make sure that the gameplay loop's not broken, CIG. Simple as that. What do you do for mercs? Maybe you give them better ship weapons at a discount, and it's being offered by the Navy as a benefit. What if you're a bounty hunter? Same thing. Maybe you give them a Castak arms discount at the gun store. Simple as that. What about pirates? Okay, well, what about if you lower their repair costs so they can keep on their game? These are all things that are constantly being mentioned by players as they're playing it, and I don't know whether this is the feedback that's coming through or whether it's just CIG just not paying attention to it. But I feel like you implement all of these things, they start interacting with all of... Yeah, you implement them as placeholders, they start interacting with each other. All of a sudden, you've got couriers that could potentially be getting hit by pirates with your emergent gameplay. You've got mercs that are like, oh, okay, I'm going to start protecting the couriers now. Pirates are incentivized to go for the couriers because they're making money. This sounds familiar. Then you've got the mercs that are incentivized to go for the pirates because they're hassling the mercs and the
So
couriers.
Basically what you're saying is, like, if I purchased a membership to the... I don't know, let's use a real world example, like Costco. If I purchase a Costco membership and I spend my money there more and more and more, I get more coupons sent to me in the mail. So for example,
Correct.
if I was a mercenary, or a merchant's guild, I would get my discount on fuel costs because that's what I'd be spending the most. And that's the advantage of being a part of that individual guild, I guess, since
You're
these
buying
would be
power.
guilds.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love it.
I feel like if you manage to tie that all into the starter ship experience, the only thing that's ever going to come naturally after is the emergent gameplay that ties into that. And congratulations, you now have multi-crew that is starting to pop off.
Yeah.
Boom. There you go. And then it's not about abandoning your starter ship. It's about appreciating where it got you and then you're moving off into their verse. It's not about going on the website and buying the next thing up. It's about making sure you know what you want because you're happy with it. Boom.
Now, that's all
my 2
fun.
cents.
Your 2 cents are beautiful in a perfect world. We are in the most imperfect situation where, even Jerry, who is a dev at the company, goes, that's all fine and great, but there's Johnny over here that has a Carrack that can earn 200,000 credits a run, and you're talking about a ship skin.
Yep.
So now, how does that apply? Does that apply in the sense of, even though he doesn't have a starter ship, his experience with that still will be those high fuel costs that he might not be able to deal with, and he's going to have to earn that rep anyway? Is that how you solve that problem? Okay.
Correct. And then what about that team of 3 pirates that are hanging out with Cutlet that are attacking him? I'm saying this because I've experienced it.
Yeah.
When it happens to you, you then kind of start realizing that, okay, you've got a character that can make you a lot of money. What happens when you get attacked? Well, congratulations. You need people to help you on that character.
Okay, but you have no. I mean, there's so much that ties into that where there's actually no loss when you die.
That kind of gets it.
That's when we start having to branch out a
thing,
little too far here.
Yeah, so I feel like the Carrick analogy is like swallowing a bitter pill, where I feel like the answer is if that person spent that money on that ship and they're kind of getting detrimented because of it, I feel like that's something that they've asked for.
Mm-hmm.
If that person's being detrimented, though, because Cutlet and 5 others have done the smart play and started from the bottom and worked their way up, they should be rewarded for that. It's as simple as that. The Carrick should be prepared. The pirates were. Simple as that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much as far as I would go. I mean, is there any other things you'd like to throw back my way? I just feel that the ultimate answer to the question is that the experience is still broken, and I feel like that needs to really be identified and not just answered with, here's another ship that you can present a new variable with. It's like,
yeah,
no, like they need to just go into the Moby class and be like, this is broken, fix that. Simple.
Yeah, I mean, like bringing ships in like the Mantis and whatever that mine laying ship was exactly that, just to distract you from the fact that everything else is broken. I feel like.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, all right, Sigma. I mean, I don't really have anything else to add to it because I sort of agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah, I mean that's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Dunk me. Easy.
Later, brother. Thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it. That was fun.
Yeah, no problem. Cheers, man.
Later,
Bye.
dude. And our final caller of the day. He's just unmuted, so he knows it's coming. Execute. What's up, Execute? Both you guys are up late, but I know you don't sleep.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, goddamn New Zealanders stealing all my ideas.
Oh, yeah.
He actually hit on a lot of the points I wanted to make. So,
okay.
What I'm going to do instead was one other thing I was going to talk about, and I actually kind of want to prove how this problem is really a marketing problem.
Absolutely.
And that it basically, the problem we are having is a marketing problem. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use your chat to do it for me. So I'd like the chat to give me the price of the Prowler in USD, and I want the price of the Hoplite in USD.
Ooh, I don't know those off the top of my head.
I know what they are.
Okay.
But for the sake of time,
are they the same price?
No, they're not. So it's $425 USD for the Prowler.
Okay.
And while I'm looking this up, can someone also give me the same ships in Alpha UEC? Right, and it's $420 for the Prowler, $25 for the Prowler, and it's $235 US for the Hoplite. But do you know how much they are in game? Mike?
No.
This is where, and we did this on an episode recently with Paul, and Paul thought we were lying, and he actually had like a little bit of a breakdown when he realized what it was. The Hoplite's more expensive, I'll tell you that much. So
that's weird.
Yeah, it's really, really weird. And it's not the only ship that is like that. There are other examples. It's like the Hammerhead and the Reclaimer, the Carrick, and the Hammerhead's
hold on. Is the Hammerhead
one.
more expensive than the Reclaimer?
No, the Reclaimer is more expensive than the Hammerhead.
I understand that one because of the potential of what the Reclaimer should be in terms of like an earner. But the Prowler versus the Hoplite is really interesting because they're both in the same sort of class of ship. But the Prowler should be the more elite one based on our understanding. And in general, it's an alien ship, so it just has that tax on it. Yeah, you would think it'd be more expensive.
So there's about a $3 million difference. But take the Carrick, right? The Carrick is $575. At its cheapest, the Hammerhead was $650. It's now $750.
Yep.
But in the game, the Hammerhead's around, I think it's about 12 million from last time I checked. The Carrick is 26 million. So it's a lot more expensive in game. So what we're finding, and this is something we theorized a long time ago on Infrarun, is they're not being priced on what they're said they are. Like they're saying they're being priced on components. They're being priced on the rule of cool. That is literally what they're being sold on.
Or
And
being priced
they
on
are
their skill specialty.
Mm.
Like
I
obviously
think
a
it's more
Carrack is an
marketing.
exploration ship, which exploration just doesn't exist. So it's hard to
Yeah.
recognize that, and you sort of ignore the fact that it's not in the game.
But we know there's things like alien tax and luxury tax in the game.
Sure.
And
How
I
about
think
this?
the other one is
I hate cutting you off. I'm so sorry, and I apologize. It's
no,
really
it's
rude.
hey, dude, I cut everyone off. That's what a discussion is. It's about a
Sure.
bouncing back and forth. So don't worry about it. Go ahead.
What I'd love to see is something like the price of the Constellation, the exploration ship, versus the, I don't know, something that is similarly sized, multi-crew, and doesn't have an exploration skill. Or skill, you know what I mean? Like option. Because then I wonder if it's instead of rule of cool, do they consider an exploration ship valuable because of its potential earning capabilities?
Yeah. I see where you're going. I think, like, for me, though, the whole problem is when Sandy Gardner kind of stepped back from the marketing and it went from being like a small community-based kind of game, and they've had this marketing person take over, whoever they are. I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
But they've come from traditional gaming market where it's make all the money you can. And that's not exactly where I don't know about you, but I don't think that's where I wanted the game to go. I backed the game because it was like a community-driven game.
Yeah.
And
it's still community driven. It's driven by our wallets and not our discussions anymore.
well, I thought it was us. I thought it was us supporting them, not our wallet supporting them. And I feel like now that it's this money machine, and they're just trying to, as you kind of alluded to before, they're trying to wring every single thing out of it that they can. And I find that and it's the same thing with this situation with the ship increasing. They can't lower the cost of the ships because that means legally in some countries they'll have to give the money back. So their only option is to increase the price of these other ships to fit the 100i in.
Here you go. Here's something that ties into what we were talking about. 3.5 million for the Andromeda.
Right.
5 million for the Aquila.
Yeah.
I think they're overvaluing exploration when they haven't even explained what exploration is. So they know that ties into this whole discussion. Actually, it
does, and that's why
they haven't communicated what exploration is, yet they've placed this value on it because they know what it is.
Yeah,
But
my thing with that though is the Aquila is actually more expensive than the Andromeda anyway. What I was trying to get at is that there is
okay.
random ship pricing, right?
Yeah.
So I'd be more inclined to go something like when the Star Runner comes out, right? The Star Runner is a much smaller ship than the Constellation, but why does it cost more? Why does a Terrapin cost the same amount as a Star Runner? There's lots of little things in there where over the years they've just crunched the prices together, but and there's all these things like they're just selling them on what they know they can get away with. Like, why is the Eclipse the same price as a Retaliator? Things like that. So they're not basing them based on components. They're not increasing the price of the Avenger and the 300i because of versatility, as they put it. That was their wording. They're doing it because they can make money off it. And that's it at the end of the day. They do need to fund this game. I understand that. But how bad of dire straits are they if they have to keep pushing this stuff?
Yeah.
And is that worrying? Like that's where it all comes back to. If it's all about money, just how bad a situation are we in? And I think I'll kind of leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we will know until I don't know until 2 years from now, where we see this year's funding, and how much they used and how much of it just disappeared, right? Because the last 2 years of funding was insane. So we'll see how much was spent to make what we have currently. That's what I'd be super curious about.
I think the last thing I'll add, and the last gentleman also stole this from me as well, was we are the solution and money talks. So yeah, talking with our wallets is the only way they're going to understand.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think a lot of one of the things we talk about on one of my shows is that a lot of the ships under $200 are not going to kind of appreciate in value. And I got this when I actually interviewed Chris way back in 2014, and the things he told me, the more expensive the ship, the more it's kind of going to be worth it when the game goes live. So one of the things we always talk about is like sell your fighters and sell ship under $200, and it'd be the same thing here. If you can't afford that, just get a basic starter or an Avenger and don't get anything else. You only need one ship, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I always
All right.
tell people that. I think everybody should only get the starting ships and experience the game from there. The problem is I ask people to do that, but then I don't have an answer of, well, what is that starting experience and why does it suck so bad in comparison to starting out with something like a cargo hauler, a miner, or a very good combat ship. So, yeah, that's kind
You got
of
to
the
stop playing
problematic
that. You got to stop playing that lawyer game and start coming playing Eco with the rest of us. Okay.
True. All right. Talk to you. All right, execute.
Love you, buddy. All right, see you later, buddy.
Later, buddy. All right, so that is it for this week's Answer the Call. 2-hour show. I'm pretty happy with it on a subject that I made a video on 2 years ago, and literally nothing's changed. It's pretty frustrating, but I thought we had a lot of awesome discussions and a lot of interesting input, and I hope CIG is listening and will hear this at some point and maybe do a little bit better with explaining to us maybe what the design aspects of the game are. Don't be scared of what our reactions will be because people yell and get upset or whatever. I think putting yourself in a box that is easily manipulated will be really nice. And I think there are a lot of other issues that are in play here that I think are somewhat reasonably easy to resolve. I think a lot of them will be resolved when we do have the tech online and the developers can actually develop the game Star Citizen. I think, I do think though that I forgot who it was that said, I'm tired of being nickeled and dimed. I think that's important too, and I think that that's something they really need to recognize, right? Because that's exactly what that issue is with the 300i and the Avenger. It feels like you're just nickel and diming, and we're not that dumb, all right? So with that said, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it. It's kind of perfect timing. For next week, we had 311. It did go to the PTU. I hope by next week it will be on a more open and wide PTU, and we can discuss just why nobody cares anymore. Because that's the mode that I'm in. I've never been more disinterested in a patch. So if you guys are watching this and you do want to come on next week's show, I would love to hear more and more and more voices. And we do this show starting at 10 a.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/SaltEMike, and you can join the show by joining our Discord at discord.gg/SaltEMike. That link is working for now, but I'm assuming a lot of people are getting departnered, and I'm probably on the way. You have to have quite a large community to stay partnered with Discord now. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button, leave a comment below, let me know what you guys think about the starter experience, and if you are new here, hit the subscribe button for more Answer the Calls. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.